Greetings and salutations. I am Crom the Pale, and this is Guild Wars 2 World vs. World Beginner's Guide for New Players, Part 2. Now, what we're going to go through today is I'm going to cover a little bit of what people actually do in World versus World. There's several different types of play style, and I'm going to go through each of the professions and what people actually normally run. Not specific builds, but very generalized ideas. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to jump into World versus World. I'm going to go straight to my home borderland, which is blue this week. Now, when you first map into World versus World, you will always appear in a protected area. That's if you use the portals in Lion's Arch or the drop-down menu. Once you are in World versus World, you will start in a protected area where you are invulnerable. You can stand here and never have any fear of getting attacked. Now, the first thing I'm going to do once I'm here is I'm going to open my map and I'm going to take a look at the surrounding maps. And the first thing I look for are these white swords. So that tells me there is a conflict happening in these particular locations. Now I'm also going to take a look at what we control in our particular corner. In the north end, I can see this particular camp does not belong to us. I can also see that there's a timer on it. So for the next 2 minutes or so, it's protected from capture. That means that the camp boss, camp lord, if you want to call him that, or commander, he has a invulnerability buff that will not go away for the next 2 minutes. Once that does go away, we can recapture that particular camp. Now, once I notice where there are swords, I can proceed to that location and try and do something. If I see a commander tag on the map, I can request to join that commander. Upon joining a commander, you will obviously want to proceed to wherever the tag is and lend some assistance. I see that's been captured, so I'm not going to be able to do anything about that. Now, the three different main types of gameplay in World vs. World are zerging, roaming, and scouting. When you're zerging, you have joined a commander squad and you are following them around the map to see what they are doing and to interact with them. You're going to assist them in combat, in putting up siege. When you are in a squad and the commander decides to take a tower or a keep, the commander will always deploy siege. Although any player in the game can deploy siege, generally it's up to the commander to do so. The reason for this is because the commander has access to or has the intel on where he needs the siege to be deployed, on how much supply everyone has, as well as whether or not he's going to need that extra supply and siege someplace else. For example, if you're trying to take a keep has an outer gate and an inner gate. If you deploy siege on the outer gate, people spend supply on it. That's less supply that they have for the inner keep. There's also the instance where he may want to deploy a arrow carts or defensive siege inside the keep as soon as you capture it to prevent it being assaulted immediately. So those are always good things to do. Another thing to do when you first join a squad is talk to the commander and find out if he indeed wants you with him. It may be the commander has you in the squad, but he wants you to, say, don't mind me talking, fighting, never a good thing. He may want you to scout for him, or he may want you to roam and flip camps for him. And this is how you flip a camp. Once you kill that commander, you will see the blue circle goes up, similar to last video where I showed you the capture point. This is how you take a camp. So you see the blue circle, you stand it. Now, if any opposing player were to enter this circle, it would stop changing color, and we'd have to kill that player before. So that's called contesting. So if this was our camp and somebody came into it, we would contest it so that we could save it and prevent them from taking it. So again, I'm doing what's considered roaming now. I'm traveling alone. I'm taking camps. I'm going to capture a capture flag or a sentry point. If I was with the squad leader, obviously, I would be part of the squad. And if you're part of the squad, even if you're not with the squad, if you're scouting or roaming, the squad leader might designate you as someone who's going to receive participation rewards, even though you're not actively with the squad, and I'll get into that in a little bit. Now you can see here my Guardian's a little bit slow. I can, do a couple things to make him move faster, but the Guardian unfortunately is one of the slowest professions in the game. However, in my northern area, this is not a protected area. You don't see any buff here, but it's relatively safe because we control the tower to the south. You can see this flag here. It means somebody captured this sentry point, and you can see some dots there. Those indicate that our players are actually actively recapturing it. So I'm going to get in there as quickly as I can to see if I can get some point. Nope, I didn't get there fast enough. But I'm going to go down, and you can see these are also roamers. We're not in a team. We're not in a squad. We're just traveling around doing what we can to help our map. This happens a great deal in the off hours. Right now, for me, it's 10:40 a.m. in the morning, so there's not a whole lot of people that are active on my server at this particular time. That's not exactly accurate. There are, but we don't need to get into details of what they're doing right now. So basically, yeah, I'm going to this camp. As you can see from my miniature map, I have 30 seconds left on protection. So I'm going to get into position where I can pull everyone into one particular spot. You can see this player is doing the same. And then we're going to set up and kill them.
Armored up. Strong.
Again, this yak here, the pack doyak, they carry supplies from the camps to the keeps and towers. If you kill a pack doya, there is a chance that you will gain supply from it. So if you notice when I first got in here, I had 0 supply. Now I've got 7 because I killed the yak and I was granted a supply bonus for doing so. So that's another, lucky bonus for doing that. There's a lot of different reasons. Now you can see how the red circles up. It's red because there are still enemy players, even though they're NPCs, in the circle. Once they die, it goes blue, and I am able to capture it. So once we capture that, I'm going to pick up some supply, and I'm going to jump over to a tower, and I'm going to explain what it is to be a scout. So another thing roamers do, of course, will kill other roamers, but I'm not going to take the time to try and seek out and find another roaming individual on the server at this time. Now, I can run or I can port. Because our garrison has a waypoint, it doesn't start with a waypoint. You have to upgrade it to get a waypoint. Once it has that, you can use that waypoint. However, if somebody were to attack the garrison, kill one of the guards, or damage a gate or a wall, it would become contested, meaning we would not be able to use it. When that happens, we have to run all the way back from our citadel. The citadel waypoint is the one uncontestable waypoint. So this is the citadel. No matter what happens, this waypoint will always be available to you on this particular map. If you take a look at the other world versus world maps, on this particular map, this waypoint that's ours, this open, will always be open. Nothing can ever contest it. However, if we were to control the Osprey Palace or the Blistering Undercroft here and upgrade it to a point where we got a waypoint, these waypoints could become contested simply because we're in combat. If you look on this particular map where we have this corner, again, there's no waypoint on this particular structure because it hasn't been upgraded yet. This one has been upgraded, so it has one. And if you look here, their garrison hasn't got an upgraded waypoint. And again, if you look at Eternal Battlegrounds here, again, we have no upgraded keeps, so we don't have a waypoint here. We have the uncontested, always available waypoint. And then Stone Mist Castle in the middle has been upgraded by the red team, so it has a waypoint. And you can see the green corner has currently been conquered by the red, but because they've taken it, they haven't had a chance to upgrade it to make it a waypoint. Their structure does, however, have a waypoint. So now when you're scouting, and I'll show you these rewards here in a second, you basically are traveling throughout, or when you scout, you are located in one particular position. usually in a tower or a keep. While in that particular tower or keep, you will watch out for signs of enemy attacking. When they do attack you, you're of course going to inform others that your position is under attack. And I'll go over that in just a minute. I can't really stop and talk in the middle of the map, so bear with me. So when you're scouting, say, a tower, you're going to pick a vantage point where you can see the approach to that tower. Usually these towers will have siege deployed in them, defensive siege, meaning arrow carts or ballistas, sometimes trebuchets, sometimes they'll have mortars. So this is a ballista. So anyway, so I'm going to sit up here, and as a scout, I'm watching this particular rampway because this is the only approach to this particular tower aside from this area here. So you've got the roadway and you've got that. What I'm also going to do is every once in a while I'm going to open my map and I'm going to look at the sentry here. Now I know there's a sentry here who's gone. I'm going to look at the camp and I'm going to look at whatever we own to the south. Anytime something to the south gets swords on it, I can see the sentries change to green, that means it's come under attack. You can see my waypoint here is contested, that means garrison is under attack. So what I'm going to do is I'm now, ordinarily, if you look at this, okay, you can see nobody's put a call out yet, so I'm going to say in map chat, how is Gary? Or eyes on Gary. And this should tell anyone who's on the map in Gary to take a look and see, why is this waypoint contested? What has happened? If they tell me it's under attack, then obviously I'm going to proceed to go to Gary to assist it. Even though I'm scouting, it's better to be proactive because I can see there's nothing attacking this particular location and get to my garrison. Since nobody's commenting, I'm going to assume there's nobody currently in Gary. So I'm going to mention in team chat, because team chat covers all 4 of the world versus world chats, that there are swords on Gary. I'm moving to scout it. So this is, and outnumbered, this outnumbered buff, that means there are more people on this particular map for the other 2 servers than there are for our particular server. That's usually a good sign that there's a number of people attacking you. So I'm going to see what it is that's happening here. Now I know there wasn't anything attacking from the east side. The west side's a possibility, but generally when people hit the guild, hit the keep, they come from the Watergate. So Watergate appears to be fine. So I'm going to go investigate to the northwest. There's a southwest gate and a northwest gate. So I'm going to check out both of those. And I'm going to spot whether or not we are actually being attacked. I can tell there's no damage here. That indicates that chances are there's nobody on the other side. If there's any damage whatsoever, then it might be somebody's hitting it. I can see, again, nobody's hitting it. So I'm going to mention in team chat, Gary looks clear. So you can also see the timer up here. If there had been a continuous attack, once this hit 0, this indicator would happen again to show that they're still attacking. If it goes away and the waypoint becomes uncontested, and you can see the waypoint's now uncontested, that means the attack has been brought to an end. We have either defended against the attack, or we have lost the keep if we had lost the battle. So the keep's fine, so I'm going to go back to scouting the tower. But when you're scouting a garrison, as you can tell, there's so many different entrances that there are a lot of different approaches. There's one gate here, there's a gate down here, there's the water gate, the southwest gate, and the northwest gate, and those are the outer gates. Inner gates, there's just 2 gates and a couple of walls. So I'm once again going back to my tower here. And generally, it's a good idea to have a scout in each structure It's rare that we have enough players willing to scout. It's something that anytime you get on, if you join a squad and tell the commander that you're willing to scout, they will thank you profusely and often reward you. So be advised, scouting good, scouting very good. So while scouting here, if I notice enemy dots around the sentry point, or if a camp were to flip, that would give me an idea that there's people there. The number of dots I can see on screen will tell me how many people, and they only appear if they go near a sentry point or if the tower has what's considered a watchtower upgrade. So I look down here and I can see, well, this has just been taken. This has been taken a while ago. You can tell because there's no timer on it. The timer goes away after 5 minutes. So because this has a timer, this means this was recently captured. This could indicate that they're planning on attacking hills. So I don't know if there's a scout in hills or not, but I'm going to assume there is. And I don't see anything immediately threatening me. So what I'm going to do is, because I'm a very proactive scout, I'm going to build a piece of siege to assist me should they attack. Now, their main ways of entering this particular tower is via the wall here, the wall back here, and the main gate. Now, we have defenses against the main gate, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put up arrow cart, and I'll go over how you deploy siege. There's a superior arrow cart. It's always best to use superior siege in most situations because it does more damage and is more resistant to damage. However, there are times when supply is limited where you may be forced to use something else. Whenever possible, you should use superior siege. So after I deploy it, I have to build it. Now, before it's complete, it has a timer associated with it. In 9 minutes and 55 seconds, if that is not built, it will self-destruct. I can put my the cancel there. It's because if I have multiple pieces of siege, I can deploy it all at once. So now I have to run around and get back up there. I have 10 minutes to do so. Once I manage to build it completely, it will remain in place for an hour. So I'm quickly doing this. And now, once I get this built, I'm going to go over the participation rewards that you get for playing World versus World. Some super speed here. You always have to be careful doing stuff like that, because jumping out of the tower could be lethal at that height. And that is something that you will find in World versus World. Fall damage accounts for a great number of player deaths. So I'm testing it by shooting right here. This is the place people often put catapults to attack this particular wall. So we now have a piece of siege there, and you can see it has a timer on it of 59 minutes and 55 seconds. All I need to do to refresh that timer is touch that seed like so. So I'm now on the siege. I can access all of its different skills and abilities. Anybody can do that, and that will instantly reset that timer back up to 59. So you have an hour before siege disappears. The loss of siege makes defending a tower or a keep or a garrison much, much more difficult, so we always want to defend that siege. Now let's get into our World versus World rewards. Now the reward tracks are very similar to PvP. There's a wide variety of them to pick from, and the rewards are quite good. I suggest you open this and you can go through and look at what exactly each one has here. You can always go to the wiki and identify exactly what each box contains. Now, if you click on this little chest here, you can see there are two different things, my participation and my reward. This is how many points my reward track requires for completion. Now, my participation means that I'm actively doing something in World versus World. Because I haven't been causing damage to enemy players, enemy structures, or even NPCs, my participation is decreasing quickly. Normally, it takes 4 minutes. So once I hit something, I have about 5 minutes to hit something again before this begins. Once this reaches 0, it will start to decrease rapidly. Once my participation is at 0, I will no longer be gaining points towards my reward track. Now, there is also the match rewards. Match rewards are something that accrue every time you are in World versus World. The uh, reward tracks are listed as follows. They start at wood and they advance slowly. You can see you get pips depending on whether your world score, and this is the world score here, whether you in first place, second place, or third. Your rank will determine another pip. You will get a pip if you're commanding a squad with at least 5 people. You'll get another pip depending on how well you did last week. And if you're on an outnumbered map, you'll get 5 extra pips. And of course, the rewards vary. And so these are considered pips. So every time this counter hits 0, I'm going to get a certain number of pips based on what my participation is, what my uh, 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 server is performing. And you'll see here I received one recently. And so in this chest, I'll get a skirmishing chest, memories of battle, instant reward, progress, and mist wrap packet. So I'm going to accept that. And you can see that was enough to get me another reward. So I'm going to open this and claim that as well. So you have to slowly build your way through this. It doesn't take forever, but it does take time. The other thing to look at in World versus World are achievements. And I'm going to go through them real quick. So go through competitive World versus World. There are a ton of different achievements you can get here. Some for just defense 500 supply camps, kill 2,500 supply caravans, capture 7,500 objects, defend 3,000 objects. That means you show up and actively participate in the defense of something. You can spend 10 supply, everyone gets that one. Spend 10,000 supply and repair, so that's rebuilding a wall or a gate after it's been damaged. Defend 1,000 keeps. Spend 10 supply and siege. Capture 2,500 camps. Capture 2,000 towers. Escorting 2,500 yaks. That is one of the slowest ones to do. It takes a long time to walk a yak from a camp to a tower, and repeating that 2,500 times. You can tell I spent a lot of time walking yaks. Capture 1,000 keeps. And then these are ones I still haven't. Realm Avenger, you have to kill 250,000 players. I've killed 51,000 and change. Stone Mist Castle, you have to capture it 200 times. I'm not quite there yet. And defend it again 500 times. I'm not quite there yet either. So that's a quick overview of that. Now I'm going to exit to my character select screen. And I'm really quickly going to go over what each profession normally does in World versus World. So you have your Guardians here. Okay, my one Guardian's a Dragon Hunter. That's the Heart of Thorns Elite spec. The other one's just a Guardian. The Guardian's role is very versatile. It can be a frontline character in a Zerg. It can run support in a Zerg, meaning it buffs people and heals them and gives them swiftness. It can also run heavy weapons in the front line to deal damage or to tank and absorb that damage. It can also be a good roaming character, and of course, anything can scout. But as a roaming character, it can go from a quick capturing type character to somebody who's actively running a PvP build to seek out and destroy other enemy roamers. Now, the warrior is a very heavy frontline character, massive amount of short range damage, melee range damage. Not as good at range, but they do now with the bow and the Berserker Elite spec deal substantial. And you notice female warrior not wearing a bikini. One of the beautiful things about Guild Wars 2 is you can actually put your characters in armor. So don't be giving her a hug. It would hurt. The next is the Necromancer. Again, a very versatile character. With Death Shroud and with Aura of the Lich, it can be a very strong frontline character, can do a lot of damage, can also deal a lot of conditions. This also makes it a useful long-range or backline character. So as a backline character, it will provide conditions. And the difference between frontline and backline, if you have a commander tag, a frontline character will remain as close as possible, generally within melee range of that tag. A backline character will drift a little farther behind, always within the range of their long range weapons, never any farther than that from the tag. Rangers, of course, are generally backline characters. They make excellent roamers. They're very good at dealing damage quickly from a distance to chase down other enemy roamers. Thieves, of course, are a very unique class. They're excellent at roaming. They're excellent at backline support in a Zerg because they can deal great range damage with their short bow. They're also good in a Zerg. When two Zergs collide, there's always players that drift too far away from the commander tag and get outside the range of the heals and protections the Zerg provides. Thieves pick them off. They hover around the outer edge and they will isolate and kill anyone who drifts away from the tag. So stay close to your tag. Engineers are a very versatile class with the new Scrapper class. They're capable of being frontliners, doing some good hammer damage. They're better suited as a utility class. They're a backliner with their ranged pistols and shotgun. They can drop a variety of different deployable turrets that can heal or attack enemies. These are also okay as roaming classes, but they are a little weak compared to others. The Elementalist is your primary backline heavy range damage dealer. They can also, with a specific PvP, often dagger build, be excellent roaming characters that can deal a lot of damage quickly. Because they have excellent AoE attacks, they can capture a camp solo very quickly. Mesmers, again, another versatile backline character, very strong in the backline, dealing range damage, doing range conditions, using skills like Portal to allow the Zerg to bypass walls if they were able to sneak in, allowing them to portal bomb enemy Zergs. So imagine a Mesmer who's been stealthed by a thief, drops a portal by their Zerg, runs around behind the enemy Zerg, and drops another portal. Now your Zerg, or at least 25 players, can take that portal and attack from behind. It's very, very dangerous, very, very useful. They are not so good at roaming when it comes to capturing camps solo. However, they are excellent at running down other enemy roamers and can be extremely difficult to kill if you are not used to fighting mesmers. They're one of my nemesis. I am terrible at fighting mesmers. And then, of course, you've got the new Heart of Thorns character, the Revenant. Now, Revenants are another versatile class. They have excellent range damage with their great hammer. They can do all kinds of upfront short range damage with their axes, their maces, and their swords. They are excellent both at roaming and at zerging. They can apply a lot of support for the zerg through buffs and through just applying resistance, curing conditions, healing with the centaur stances, and a variety of other things. So that gives you a quick rundown of all the different classes. I know I didn't get into details about putting together each of these particular builds. That's something I think you should look into on your own, but that's going to be it for today. I hope you enjoy, and I'll see you in the game.